Chapter 11. The Stragglers. Wild geese are known for migrating in the autumn and the spring. But exactly when a flock migrates, it is up to its members. Some flocks choose to fly early in the season. Others straggled far behind. But it was not one of those straggling flocks that caught the attention of our robot. Honk! 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 The geese were heard before they were seen. Their honking voices echoed across the farm, and then a flock appeared above the fields, flying in a wobbly V formation. They glided over the pasture and plunked down into the pond. None of them were very concerned as Ross approached. The geese had seen similar creatures on other farms, and they knew there was nothing to fear. But they were about to learn that our robot was very different from the others. "Hello, geese," said Ross. "Welcome to the hilltop farm." The geese froze. They stared at Ross with suspicious eyes, and then the biggest goose slowly swam over. "I've come because I'm come across plenty of monsters like you," he said, "but I've never met one who could talk. I am not a monster. I am a robot. My name is Ross." The goose scratched his head. "Well, it's nice to meet you, Ross the robot," he said at last. "My name is Wingtip, and this is my flock." Ross gave a friendly wave, and soon the flock was gathered around, curious to meet this odd character. As you can imagine, the geese were shocked to learn that Ross had a goose for a son. They asked her all kinds of questions about Brightbill, and about her old life on the island, but about her new life on the farm. Then Ross asked them a question of her own. "Do you think Brightbill's flock would ever come this way on their migration?" "Doubtful," said Wingtip. "It sounds like his flock takes the eastern flyways. They'd never come this far west." The robot slumped with disappointment. "However, we geese are full of surprises," added Wingtip. "I'll promise you this, Ross. If we ever meet Brightbill, we'll point him in your direction." The talk was interrupted by giggling and barking. "The children are taking the dog for a walk." Ross couldn't be seen chatting with geese, so she whispered a quick goodbye to her new friends and went back to work. And when she looked down at the pond later that day, she saw that the flock was gone. Chapter 12. The Homesick Robot. We all feel homesick at one time or another. Even the robot felt something like homesickness. Ross belonged with her son and her friends on her island. She was determined to find her way back there. But how? If the robot was seen doing anything unusual, Mr. Sheriff might have her destroyed. Ross had to be careful, so she calmly went about her farm work. Day in and day out. But all the while, the homesick robot was secretly planning her escape. Chapter 13. The electronic signal. Beep, 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 beep. A message was flashing on Ross's computer. The drone was reporting that gusty winds had sent it spurring into the neighbor's bean field. So the robot grabbed a big, heavy toolbox and marched out to clean up the mess. Ross found a flying machine upside down, with its landing gear poking above the rows of leafy plants. It had comic scraps and scratches, but no major damage. She flipped it over, brushed it off, and tightened a few screws. Then she said, "Return to Hilltop Farm." The engine started buzzing and the machine lifted off the ground and flew home. As Ross marched back, she cut through a strip of forest that separated the two farms. There were trees and ferns and rocks and shrubs and small forest animals. It was a little place of wilderness, and suddenly the robot was thinking of that wild island she missed so much. Someday she would try to run away and return to her true home. Was this the moment for her escape? Could it be as easy as sneaking off through these trees? No, it couldn't be that easy. Ahead, on the other side of the trees, Mr. Sheriff was sitting in his pickup truck, watching Ross. Because of the robot's electronic signal, he knew she had stepped off the property, and he had raced out there to see what she was up to. Ross marched over to the truck, and Mr. Sheriff leaned out his window. He had a serious expression on his face. "Don't ever leave the property without my permission. Understand?" "I understand," said Ross. She understood. All right, she understood that she was always being watched. She understood that she was trapped on Hilltop Farm. Chapter 14. The Sad Truth. That night, while everyone else was sleeping, Ross stayed up with her computer and researched sneaky subjects. She looked for the diagrams of her own body and for maps of the area, but for any news that might help her escape. But the robot found nothing. The computer only let her access information about farming. She was cut off from the outside world. It was clear that if Ross wanted to escape from her new life, she would need help, but the cows didn't know how to escape, and Mr. Sheriff would never let his robot leave. Who would possibly help Ross to run away from the farm? Chapter 15. The Children. As time rolled by, Ross saw less and less of Mr. Sheriff, but she saw more and more of the children. They were shy at first. The robot might look up for the pasture and see Jed peeking around the corner of the barn, or see Jaya spying from the branches of a tree. But the children were growing bolder. And then one day, Ross marched into the workshop and heard giggling. She walked to the closet in the back, opened the door, and there was Ja, smiling and trying not to laugh. "I'm hiding from my brother," whispered the girl. "Close the door." The robot closed the door. A minute later, Jed ran in, flushed and out of breath. "Hey, Ross, have you seen Jed?" The robot just stared. "I knew she's in here," said Jed, and he began prowling around the room. He searched under the work table and behind the tool chest and between all the bulky workshop machines. Finally, he marched up to Ross and said, "I order you to show me where my sister is hiding." The robot pointed to the closet. Jed smiled mischievously and tiptoed over. Then he flung open the door and screamed, "Found you!" "No fair!" John winked. "Ross, show you where I was hiding." The girl crawled at the robot. That wasn't very nice, Ross, but you can make it up to me by playing hide and seek. Count to 100 and then try to find my brother and me, okay? There was a brief pause, and the robot said, okay. Ja and Jed squealed with delight and scampered out the door as Ross started counting. The robot's sensitive ears listened carefully to the children outside. She heard quick footsteps crunching across the driveway. She heard a giggle and the sounds of tree branches shaking. She heard a grunt and the sounds of hay bales being shoveled aside shoved aside, and the robot finished counting. It took her exactly 5 seconds to find Ja up in a tree. It took her another 8 seconds to find Jed in the hay loft. Wow, Ross is really good at seeking, said Jed as he picked hay from his hair. Ja snorted. Yeah, well, that's just to see how good she is at hiding. Ross was even better at hiding. While the children counted, the robot silently slipped away, and an hour later, they still hadn't found her. The siblings stood in the driveway, defeated. We give up, Ross, shouted Jed. You win, shouted Ja. The junk pile beside the barn started moving, and Ross appeared. The robot had been sitting there all along, perfectly camouflaged among the scrap metal and the old farm machines. The next time we play, you'll have to let one of us win, said Ja to Ross. And the next time they played, Ross did. The robot enjoyed having the children around. They brought a little lightness into her world, and she hoped to bring a little lightness into theirs. Life must have been dark since their mother passed away. However, Ross had another reason for wanting the children around. She needed them. Her only chance of ever returning home was if Ja and Jed could find it in their hearts to help her escape. But this was the delicate situation. If Ross tried too hard, the children might say something to their father. If she didn't try hard enough, she might be stuck on that farm forever.